Hello everyone, and welcome to the Dice Commando YouTube channel. I'm Andrew, with you here as always. This is the Commando Cast, a video cast about all things Star Wars Destiny. This video and others like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. Please show your support with a like and subscribe, and be sure to hit the bell notification icon so you don't miss any new videos. If you want to get involved with the channel, consider becoming a channel member. There are many benefits to channel membership, including access to our Discord, exclusive deck tech and strategy videos, and the opportunity to help create channel content. I want to sincerely thank all our channel members, as I truly couldn't do this without your support. You guys rock. Go Commando.
Hello everyone, welcome to Dice Commando on the Commando Cast, and happy Friday. So a couple months back, when I came up with the idea for DestinySMASH and I brought it to the Dice Commando team guys, we started working on it. I think we knew that this was something that was really cool, but I still think it caught us by surprise how really well received it was across the Destiny community. Tons of people have reached out about it, tons of passion and ideas around it, and it's really been an exciting experience. So today I'm here not only to announce the final changes for Phase 1, as well as to give a little preview for Phase 2, but fundamentally to talk about my philosophy around the format, what it means, and how that'll carry forward into the future. Hey guys, thanks for joining me again, talking DestinySMASH all day today. So as I alluded to in the intro, kind of a three topic today, I want to go real quick into the Phase 1 changes, the final changes and why they're final, give a little quick preview and kind of talk Phase 2. And then lastly, I want to finish, the bulk of today will be talking Smash philosophy, right? My philosophy kind of around the format, where I plan on taking it going forward. And then, of course, some specific topics, the stuff that have come up, and then, of course, plans for the future, which, of course, are always subject to change. So, first thing let's hit is Phase 1, the final changes, right? So, why are these the final changes, right? Andrew, why are you never doing this again? Never changing them again, I should say. I don't want to do any changes because we've gone to final print with Aegis. Hopefully, on Monday of this week, you guys were able to see a really cool unboxing of all the cool Smash swag. Now that we have, printed official character cards that don't exist just on TTS or on a print-to-play, and we have real stuff out there, I don't want to do changes. So what are these changes? Why are they? The first one shouldn't really come as too much of a surprise. It was Dexas Diner and Chewie. If you guys recall, we had already removed Dexas Diner from Tarful. It was just too much. And quite frankly, Dexas Diner, right? It's just proving to be too much of an NPE in just the slightly less efficient format, and we just had to remove it from Chewie, right? Remember, Chewie has second chance anyway, so there's plenty going on there, and he just doesn't need Dexas Diner. Dexas Diner is now officially banned from any list going forward based on that learning. So that was a learning we had. That has actually been replaced with Backup Specialist, so it's a card that you don't see very often. It's a 1-drop support, but it lets you get rerolls in, which you need with Chewie. So we think that was a pretty good change. So that is our final change. Again, we just had Dexas Diner. We just can't do it. The next change is actually kind of a funny story. It started as a typo, right? So Pyre, if you go and you look at some of the original print-to-play versions, Pyre was on Occupied City. That was not by design, and actually the TTS JSON actually had Military Camp, which was the original one. It's just I straight up had a copy-paste error on Pyre's print-to-play card that still had, it was Occupied City, right? I had copied Leia's, and I forgot to change it, and it was on there. So he should have been on Military Camp. Now, as we were playing Pyre, and he's a pretty good Smash character, by the way, but as we were playing Pyre, I noticed repeatedly that he just kind of ended up sitting on the battlefield the whole time, and you didn't really get that cool effect of him of tossing the battlefield back and forth. So I came up with the idea, floated it to the group. I said, hey, let's do Medical Center so you can actually claim, get something out of it, and toss it back, right? So that way the two Season Territory and the Trooper one, they take the battlefield back. They're not completely dead cards in Smash. So that was something that we're like, yeah, seems good. So Medical Center is now officially the Pyre battlefield. I think that's really the perfect way to get his mechanic really working, to give you kind of that Pyre feel, if you will. The last change is in Iden. So Iden, with all of the changes that we made last time, Iden is pretty clearly the best character. She has Mega Blasters, which is very, very scary in the format. She's also just really, really good with just her sides and that 2 focus. And Iden's very scary, so we needed to tone her down. So one of the changes we made was we actually removed one of her dice cards. That the repeater rifle, I think it was like the TL50 or DL50 or whatever it is, the one with the special that keeps rolling in and rolling in and rolling in. We removed that one kind of to, I mean, for one, when it rolls in, hits the special over and over and over, that creates some feel bad moments, so we wanted to remove that. And two, by taking a dice card away from her, we tone her down just ever so slightly. Now, to be clear, she still has Conscript and Megas. She's still a very, very big threat, let alone being a 12 health character that can do what she does. But like I said, we kind of wanted to remove that NPE thing that we had, because if you guys remember, we had done that on Poe. He kind of had that NPE thing going with BB-8, which we removed. And it was really kind of the same thing, not to the same extent as Poe, but still, we wanted to remove the feeling of forever rolling NPE, right? So that one got removed. We also toned her down with taking away a dice card. But we did add in Armored Support, which is actually in, I believe it's in FN as well. Very fun little card. I actually love that support. So that's in there now. Reroll red dice. If you hit damage, you do a damage, and it stays in forever. So that was the balance changes we made there. And like I said, those are now finalized. Barring anything super major, there will be no plans to ever go back and change Phase 1, which means that everyone can lock down their lists and be happy with that. All right, so talking Smash Phase 2, we are still expecting that at the end of this month, February 26th. You guys may have seen my original card fan that I released a couple weeks ago, kind of in a FFG-esque thing. Of course, there's nothing on there, but Bosk, Rex, Boba Fett, Kylo Ren, and Luke Skywalker. There was one guy out there who's like, this can't be considered a real thing until I get Boba Fett. I'm right there with you, man. Boba Fett's one of my favorite guys, but it was him or Jango before, and Boba Fett's coming this time, and he's pretty good. So what I'm showing up now is a new spoiler, kind of, similar card fan, announcing 5 more characters are going to be in the set. We have Yoda, Padme, Ayla. Now, Ayla is a 912, but she plays pretty fine just as a 912. She's a pretty good character. K2SO Incognito, we had to get him in there. And then another fan favorite, Dengar Ruthless Tracker. So again, look for that on the 26th of this month, releasing Phase 2. We'll, of course, have a cast on that, as you would expect. And, well, we'll have a lot of fun with it. All right, so with that done, let's go ahead and talk Smash philosophy. Now, I kind of listed some things on the thumbnail, specifically one I wanted to talk about. But let me start by kind of addressing some of the more common things that we've been reached out, or people have contacted me and they want changes on. Let's just start by saying what my original vision for DestinySMASH was. DestinySMASH, I wanted it to be something where we as players who had an existing card pool could use those cards and basically, for lack of a better term, remember the good old days, right? There were characters in there. I was never a huge fan of Afra in the format, but I couldn't imagine remembering Star Wars Destiny 20 years down the line without an Afra, without Leia Mill, stuff like that, right? So that's why those cards, it was important to me that those cards we put in the format. It doesn't matter if they were my fan favorites or not, or if I hated them or whatever. I wanted to evoke the feeling of Star Wars Destiny. And part of that means that we can use our cards, right? So when I was approached by multiple people, right? So one of the greatest things where people come in, they're like, man, this is such a great format because it's really cheap for me to get in, right? It creates a playable Destiny game that's really cheap for me to get in. But then they'd also say, well, but is there a budget? Like, can this be more budget? You shouldn't have legendaries in there. And, my overall take and overall feedback is this is a budget this is kind of a budget format as in if it is already. And I don't feel that we should not be able to use our those of us who are around shouldn't not be able to use our collection just because I'll say it bluntly. This is already a budget format compared to playing Star Wars Destiny as it was. And just because it's not budget enough for you doesn't mean that everyone else should be hamstrung of not getting to use their cards. Plus, on top of that, with the list we provide, you can always go back and say, I don't have an Ancient, play something else. I don't have Neiman, play something else, right? You can always go make those swaps, whereas if we publish only budget lists, everyone else is sitting with dead cards. So it was very important to me that we be able to use all of Star Wars Destiny to really be able to evoke that feeling. And again, if you are a budget player, you don't want to spend the money, you don't have to, right? You can go and swap in light cards, something like that, and have just as fun of an experience without hurting the rest of the community. So that's my stance on the budgetness of it. And again, early in phase 1, we identified, having 3 demons in there was a mistake. We will, going forward, try to avoid, like Xian, we're still not doing Xians. We will, going forward, trying to avoid the high dollar cards. But as a hard and fast rule, that doesn't mean that any card is off the table just because it's over a certain dollar amount. So I just want to be very clear with that going forward. And again, it doesn't mean that you can't go sub in something to complete your deck if you're not able to find it online. Right? And that goes for all of us. Like, I don't have necessarily all the cards we need. All right, next. A lot of people, well, let's put a pin in that. So what I want to talk about is a lot of the stuff has come up not only from the community, but also from us in playtesting. This has been very much a push-pull, if you will, of balancing short-term versus long-term goals. And for those of you who are familiar with my management style, my approach on, I was a referee in college, and I think that's where a lot of this comes from. You have to follow the rules, and you have to stick to the rules because that provides the baseline. The minute you make an exception, the question becomes, well, where does the line get drawn on the exception? And what I specifically am referring to there is, well, what about this 16-point character? What about this 17-point character? What about these characters that have been balanced to the Force? And to that specifically, let's talk about 2 characters in specific detail. Legacy's Finn and Legacy's Zeb. Now, both of these guys, over time, were balanced down to 14. But I have them both on the screen right now. And I think we can both admit, especially with Finn, right? We can both admit that those guys would probably be way overpowered in the Smash format. Finn is still right? What kept these guys out of play wasn't that they were bad characters. What kept them out of play was lack of viable partners within the formats in which they lived, right? So they were balanced down to give them those partners, not because they themselves were bad characters, right? So that's, like I said, I in the very beginning, we always wanted to use printed costs because that's where the characters were costed appropriately. And it's not our job to, at the time when they were released, those characters, well, I mean, I'm not talking about OG Mace Windu and stuff like that, right? There are, of course, characters out there that weren't costed appropriately. But a lot of the fan favorite characters, specifically like these 2, they were costed appropriately. If we were to put those into Smash just because they got balanced, then we'd have a problem on our hands. And then that kind of goes into the thing of, well, but what about Fifth Brother? Right, Fifth Brother is another fan. I think we can all agree Fifth Brother probably should have been a 15-point character to begin with, right, from day one. But again, if I say, okay, Fifth Brother's a 16-pointer, let's go ahead and make him legal. Then what do I do for the next 16-pointer? What do I do for the next 16-pointer? And that kind of steers me back to the discussions we have a lot of times in our playtesting of short-term versus long-term goals. As the owner of the format, my job is to protect the format on the whole. Right? And that includes having things that are too strong, as well as having things that are not good enough. And to that end, one of the things I call out is Voss, right? And Wyatt's been a huge help in this, very passionate about this format. One of the things he hit me up with, he's like, can we do Voss? I would love to see Voss. And I want to use that as a great example of something that would really skew the format in a negative way. So what he's talking about is he was like, well, let's just do a 1-die Voss. It'll be fun. First off, I think we all admit it would be bad, right? It just wouldn't be bad, or it wouldn't be good. And if you were to get Voss as one of your things, you'd probably have an auto lose, right? So while the concept of Voss himself in a vacuum is a really cool and really fun idea, the concept of him in the format overall is not, because it can make the format a bad, or it can make those games in that format with him specifically a bad experience. Right, so that's what I'm saying is you have to draw hard and fast lines because, well, let's do that, let's try this, There's then a push-pull of, well, what's okay, what's not okay. And to go in and assume that we can just play test everything and make it work, it is just not true. I mean, you guys saw, I think we had a very solid play testing with Smash Phase 1, and we've had to make changes right around it. And I mean, that's just how it goes. And if we open the field up way too much, it's just going to be an unrecognizable mess of a format. So again, my philosophy as the owner of the format is that we will have very distinct lines that we will follow, and that I have to protect the format on the whole. Right, and kind of to that end, right, like I said, with the short-term versus long-term, one of the things that we've really struggled with in playtesting, partially because of how I have structured playtesting, which has not been, right, the design and playtesting part has overlapped significantly, which has caused some problems. Because everyone, especially in a game like this, where it's based on Star Wars, right, and it's based on characters that we care about, if I'm like, hey, Bassmaster, go out and design a deck, or hey, Davey, can you go out and design a deck for this character? When they do that, they want to make that deck as best as possible. So when I have guidelines that say use only 4 to 5 dice, right? Use 5 dice if they're weaker, use 4 dice if they're a little better character. Every design deck comes back pushed to the max every single time, right? And that's just a byproduct, right? That's not saying that these guys aren't doing a bad job. These guys are actually doing a fantastic job. But what I'm saying is this is a byproduct of that passion that everybody has for what they're doing. And if everything is railed to the max, then the entire format is railed to the max, right? And specifically to that end, right, when people come back, they're like, well, but what about Fifth Brother? But what about, Baze Chirrut? Like Baze Chirrut, there's nothing I would love more than to see Baze and Chirrut in this format. But how do I do that? The answer is you have to go back and redesign the cards, right? If I let Baze in wasn't he 18 points printed? If I let Baze in at 18, well, then what about the guy who was 17? And so on, and so on, and so on. Right? So again, it's very important to me that we are hard and fast on the rules. And just because we're coming up with a custom format doesn't mean we can throw everything out, because then again, where does the line get drawn? And specifically, the discussion around that we've quite frankly had quite a bit of strife, and I've gotten pretty heated about over the design things, is what to do about plots. Right? You guys know that in Phase 1, I avoided plots. In Phase 2, I wanted Hera Ghost. And then there was some other designs that came up, and people just started putting plots in, because once the door was open on plots, it was just a deluge of, if I have a point left over, I'll put in a plot. Doesn't matter if it's good or not. Doesn't matter if we need it or not. I have points available, and thus I'll put in a plot, right? And that was kind of an example of just the type of thing. If I open the door to 16s, there'll be a bunch of 16s. Okay, so we talked about, and again, when I talk about Voss, Voss was the prime example that I wanted to use. Not that it was a bad idea, not that I'm picking on Wyatt. And again, Wyatt knows that I'm just using this as a general example. But my example about Voss is not only would he be bad, or in order to make him good, we'd have to put 10 dice in there, and then he'd be way too good because there'd be too many dice in the format. Right? So as you take something like that in a vacuum, it's a really fun idea, but you apply it into the larger card pool, and we have what I believe to be a very significant problem on our hand. Because if something's too good, that's an obvious problem. But if something's too bad, that's more of a non-obvious problem as well, right? So again, like I say, we have this constant push-pull of, well, this is a character I'm passionate about. Well, this is the deck I developed, and it's okay because I want to make it really good. I believe very strongly in it, versus balancing that out on the format in of itself, right? So those hard and fast rules, right? That's why I don't look at 16s. That's why we're not looking at 17s, because the minute we break one rule, the dam breaks and everything comes out. So that's really kind of my philosophy on why I'm being such a stick in the mud, right, about some stuff like that. Or I realize it's not fun, right? I can't tell you how many people have contacted me. Well, can we do this character? Can we do this character? I love that passion. I wish we could do a lot of them too, but we just can't, right? And again, I'll put them back up again. But with Zeb and Finn, they are prime examples of guys that, on paper, should totally be in the format. But when you actually start to think about them, they are too good for the format. They're perfect. They're a perfect example of something that would be too good in this format. But again, they represent a whole class of character that we could consider, but we can't. Okay. So anyway, I think I've talked around circles in that plenty. So we'll go ahead and move on. Now, in terms of the future of Smash, I have spoken about, so previously I had spoken that Phase 3, I actually wanted to do some custom redesigns. Baze and Chirrut being a prime example, Ahsoka, Cad Bane, those being all examples of stuff I wanted to touch again, using a reused die, but kind of a toned down ability, or something like tone down health, tone down ability, something like that. That is something I wanted to do. And then I was planning on phase 4. Question we get a lot is, will you be doing this with ARH cards? The answer is completely 100% yes, we will be doing ARH cards with this. However, I want to do ARH as its own phase. Specifically, I want to use only ARH cards or ARH legal reprints, whatever that turns out to be, in once rotation's triggered and so on. I believe that needs to be its own phase, so people can decide whether to play with it or not. And furthermore, with the significant creep we've seen in Redemption, right? Compare like a 15-point Leia or a Benthic or something like that to the other 15 and 14 and even 13 pointers that we're seeing in Smash Phase 1 and 2. It's just night and day, right? I mean, there's a significant power jump there. So that's also very tough to manage, and that's why I think specifically the ARH stuff has to be its own wave. So in order to make it its own wave, there needs to be enough stuff out there populated. So I don't see this happening until rotation is triggered, which should happen with the next set. So hopefully we can start testing after that. Back to phase 3 on the custom stuff, I'm kind of pumping the brakes on that, to be honest. It's kind of just a can of worms that I think needs a little more work done to it, and I need to restructure how we do design. If we're going to go into custom stuff, I need to restructure how we do our Smash design and playtesting, because you have to start putting in, once you start doing custom stuff and people start getting emotionally invested in their designs, you have to have that natural break between testing and design, which we don't currently have in Smash, although to be honest, we probably should. Okay, so I think I nailed everything on my list. Going forward to Smash in the future, I don't see. I mean, eventually we're going to hit the point where we start slowing down and running out of characters, and that's okay. I mean, I think again, the excitement of this has been fantastic, and everybody wants more Smash right now immediately. But again, we have forever to do this, and don't forget the real maybe let me just say this. What I view as the real win of Smash is that we have successfully board gamified Destiny, right? I can make these decks, I can put them in a box, and I can come back whenever and have it be just as playable as the day I put it in. You don't need to worry about meta. You don't need to worry about staying on top of things or even being familiar with things, because we can balance these, and it's just, I don't know, I think that's the best way to say it is Smash has allowed us to board gamify Destiny and made it a playable game for forever, right? Versus having to worry about specific decks, which decks are you going to do, right? I just think it's a real asset. And I think a lot of people recognize that, and I think that's why a lot of people are excited about it. And that excitement has fueled me, right? It's been fantastic to see just the pure love that people have for just the concept behind it. And I will have to be very careful on how we manage it going forward, because if Smash becomes too big, becomes unwieldy, if it becomes power mismanaged, then we've ruined it, right? So it's better to go slow. It's better to go calculated. It's better to be smart with what we do. And it's better to just make sure that we manage it to a T, to the rules, and as best as we possibly can, while also incorporating the best part of Destiny, which is our favorite Star Wars characters. So that's pretty much my piece for today. I want to thank everybody for reaching out, how much excitement there's been, everybody willing to help. Specifically, my Dice Commando team members and my tech and strategy members who have helped in the design, the playtesting, the development. You guys are awesome, right? I've got 4 guys right now who are out testing specific decks that I asked them to for Phase 2, and they're giving feedback, and they're blowing up the Discord. I absolutely love it. The amount of work these guys are putting in, the passion that they have is absolutely fantastic. If you're interested in getting involved in that, evaluate becoming a channel member, coming and joining us on our Discord. We would love to have you. The more the merrier, and help us develop it. So again, thank you guys very much for joining me today. Please continue to enjoy Smash. I love hearing from you. Comments below. Those like and subs mean a lot. Nothing else, folks. Go Commando.